Ua whiwhia nei taimo le tae au ua malotia le officer nei o le Radio Samoa o whates mai le whionga le Minister, Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds, Minister for Internal Affairs, Minister for Pacific People, Associate Minister for Health, Associate Minister for Housings, and Associate Minister for Cyclone Recovery. Malafalo afia mai alo whionga le Minister ta programa le tae. Good morning.
Good morning, Talofa Lava. Oh, it's really nice to be here in Okilangi, and here to be in the studio. Yeah. It's a beautiful day here, and I understand I brought it from Wellington, so I'll take that.
So you like the weather?
Yeah, I brought it from Wellington, so I brought it out here for you. Brought it from Porirua.
Okay, we were talking last week. You were about to board a flight to Hawke's Bay. Give us an update, Fio.
Yes, so last Friday, as part of my Associate Minister of Cyclone Recovery, I went to Napier and Hastings. Yeah. My first trip was to Freshco, and Freshco had just under 200 RSE workers, mainly from Vanuatu and also some Samoan there. It was a really good day for them because they had just brought all their workers from the evacuation centres back to their accommodation. Okay. So it was really busy. They were doing the final clean of the portacoms, but it was really devastating for them, the floods. You know, they were walking out with their workers in sort of knee-high water. It got higher and higher, but they managed to evacuate them safely. One of the really key things that Greg, who runs the orchard, said that they weren't prepared. You know, as a business, they hadn't had a plan. But then what had happened was the local church, Ascend Church, who's got Pastor Tuaini, who's one of their junior pastors, him and his wife Moira, they worked with the senior pastor and opened their doors. Right. So when I went to the next part of the trip, I went to Ascend, and they had done amazing things. You know, they'd put together their pews and put a mattress on top. They had a separated area for women and for men. And then they had the Pacifica Futures medical team had arrived that day to do checks. So that was Freshco. Also went to King's Church, and huge alofa for Pastor Charles and for also Reverend Suanita as well from the Efakasa there, the church. They're doing amazing things as well, being able to support our RSE workers, again opening up their doors. There's still improvements we need to do to support them, and so I'm really working closely with some of the civil defence people on the ground to make sure they get what the support they need, because some of them still have RSE workers there. But last night, really fortunate, I was at the Te Whatu Ora Pacific provider whono, and I met some of the King's Church who are there representing Pastor Charles. So they're in good spirits. They're tired, but you know, it's the same thing. Our alofa and their alofa and their strength is what's getting them through.
You did mention earlier Sosoania Whaiwhiau, mai kālesia wholele, especially around Hawke's Bay. I think Te Lere Lanto Sosoania for the community. Do we know how long from now we'll get Hawke's Bay back to normal? So, might take a while.
Yeah, so different areas are really badly affected. Some areas, not too sure if they will actually recover. There needs to be some big decisions around whether we build there or not, you know, and so those are decisions that the council and government have to really work together to make. But that's why, as part of the cyclone response, we have a task force led by Sir Brian Roach, and what will happen on this at that Lau, there will be people from different areas, you know, insurance, the bank, the councils, the mayors, trying to work out the best plan for their area. But it'll be a long recovery, and for some of most of the RSE workers, they're actually starting to get back to the accommodation. There are still going to be accommodation issues over the short term, but the temporary accommodation service has been stood up, and so that helps with sort of medium and longer term accommodation while you know, insurance claims and other matters need to be sorted out for people.
Okay, Honourable Minister, I think 2 weeks ago I did ask you about our RSE workers around Hawke's Bay. Are they able to help the cleanup?
So if they agree to, and two, if they basically the contracts are flexible enough to allow them to do that within the employer that they're employed to. So, but again, it's really up to the RSE worker whether that's the work that they want to do, because they came here for another purpose.
Okay. While we're talking about Cyclone Gabriel and the effect for not only Hawke's Bay but around the country. The relief fund, are you able to tell our people about that?
So on Monday, the Prime Minister and I, we release what's called the Cyclone Gabrielle Relief Appeal. So a trust has been set up very similar to what happened with the Canterbury earthquakes. So with the Canterbury earthquakes, a trust was set up and lots of donations came from overseas. So the trust is it's a fundraiser in some ways, but it's for things that are medium and long term. So not so much emergency response, but for things like sports fields, theatres, those things that make places special. So that appeal fund was released on Monday. So you can go check out our Beehive website for all the information on that.
We're talking about websites, we're talking about Civil Defence website?
So Civil Defence has all the information you need for if you need support, but the Cyclone Appeal Trust is the Cyclone Gabrielle one. If you go to the beehive.gov.nz, there's different ways that you can that you can donate, or you can go on my Facebook page. So I'll put a plug there for it.
Honourable Minister, while you are in Tamaki Makaurau, we're having some meetings with some leaders of the community. Are you able to tell us about that?
Yeah. So last night again met with the Pacific providers, the health providers. That's from across the whole country. It's the first time that they've been able to meet since COVID, and it's because under this new health system, Te Whatu Ora was able to bring them together and also to talk about the amount of funding that they've received. Today I'm going to be meeting with the Pacific Business Trust. Obviously really important because they are at the moment delivering some of the funds we've given towards Cyclone Gabrielle and, obviously business relief. And also over the tonight I'm attending the Taloa STEAM Awards, which is, we have around 300 young people who are getting awards for, their science, technology, engineering, arts and maths sort of subjects that they're studying at a tertiary level. And those Taloa Awards are being held across the country. So tonight I'm at the Auckland one.
Lima minuto John Tyler to La Valua on Talanoa Malafionga, Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds, and for Temple Town to Studio Aukilani Nay, Borfafo Malatino, is stuff for the for Kilope. Honourable Minister, if you've seen Lifa Moreno Fiong tenants to tell you that Samoa Mal Pacific for Lilo Fonga in a investment property. They're very concerned because the new regulations, the CEA, longer renter, landlords, and they are very concerned now the cost of living is going up. I think the main concern is the landlords are making money out of all this, but they are struggling. Most of our Samoan and Pacific people are struggling. You are the Associate Minister for Housing. What can you say about this, Whamoromone?
Yeah, so the recent news was in relation to a survey that was done, and the survey asked, to landlords, what do you believe is the reason for your rents increasing? And the number one reason they said is because of the government regulations around warmer homes. For me, that's difficult to basically process in the sense that we want homes to be warmer and drier so that our families don't get sick. I appreciate absolutely and acknowledge as well the cost of living is really hard on our families, but that's why for families that are struggling, do go and see whether they're applicable for the accommodation supplement. Also, working for families, some of those transfers. We also have winter coming up, we've got the winter energy payment coming through. So there are different measures that are there to help bring down the expenses. But the unfortunate thing is with rents going up, it also comes down to there's not enough houses, and that's the ultimate reason for this problem. We have not built enough houses over the last 30 years to keep up with the population upgrade. But if I was just saying, as I was driving here, coming off the motorway, coming through Manirewa, the amount of housing growth in this area and across South Auckland is phenomenal. I remember living here not that long ago and seeing that this whole area was farmland, and now there's townhouses galore. So it's going to be tough for a lot of families, and it's going to be tough for a while because until we get more housing stock in, that's the ultimate solution to bringing rents down.
Okay, Honourable Minister Alvanga Mulmuli, I'm sure you're aware of protest because of climate change. The students, and some of the environment departments. Now, what can you say about this? I mean, they are saying, is New Zealand doing enough for climate change? What can you say about this?
I think every country has to play their part when it comes to climate change. You know, obviously with our emissions reduction scheme coming in, we're getting a lot of pushback from other industries telling us we're not going hard enough. And then in some industries we're saying we're doing too much. You know, if you look at some of the farmers and some of the responses coming back there, we have to take a balanced and measured approach in order to be able to juggle all those different considerations. For me though, obviously, you know, the climate strike for action today, which is by our young people, I absolutely admire them for that. You know, that's not something I was thinking about when I was 19 or 16, and so New Zealand is trying to play its part, but that we are part of a wider scheme, and we basically will be working through that as the years come.
Okay, so finally, while you are here in Tamaki Makaurau, what's your plan for today and the rest of the weekend?
Today I've got the Pacific Business Trust. I've got another meeting this morning. I've got Te Loa Steam tonight, but actually it's my father-in-law, Bill Edmonds, who lives in Otahuhu. It's his 80th birthday. Oh,
happy birthday.
And today is actually my stepmother, La Stella Timu. It's her 60th birthday today. So her and my dad are down in Queenstown, and she jumped off a plane yesterday. So so it's a family weekend this weekend.
Honourable Minister Whawhatai Tere, lava, so good to have you in our studio this morning. Well, enjoy the rest of your time here at Tamaki Makaurau. Enjoy the weather.
Yep, I will. I don't enjoy the traffic, but you know, I'm an Auckland girl by heart, so I know how to drive these roads, so we'll be fine.
Whawhatai lava, have a nice weekend.
Thank you very much.
Le whionga e le Minister, Te Ngata Pasifika, Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds, le fwoi te malitahi au